Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode 35 of The Bobby Kudo Show. What can you say about that? What can you say about that? Ladies and gentlemen, Run-D.M.C, Aerosmith, Joseph Run Simmons, Darryl McDaniels, Jason Mizell, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry. Epic, ladies and gentlemen. Epic. The birth of rock rap. And guess when this took place? I bet you can't guess. 1986. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Steven Tyler. And thank you, everyone. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate everyone tuning in once again for this next installment of the Bobby Kudo Show, episode 35. I hope everyone is well. Things are pretty crazy. What can you say? You know, today is Wednesday, if you're keeping track. And, I normally record on the weekends, guys. I will tell you, just catching my breath, a little excited there. Run-D.M.C's got me all excited. Good music. Got through the weekend. Busy, real busy. A lot of things going on. The weather isn't cooperating. That's not helping out. And if you got things going on in your life, it's a busy time. You know, even going out to the grocery store, right? Like, what if you guys are following on the TikTok, you'll notice, I posted a couple of videos of us being out. I mean, not that we're going out a lot, but I mean, when necessary. Obviously we got to eat. I got a couple of people living in this house, and one of them being a baby. So, you have to make those trips, and unfortunately, they're not fun. Or they used to be fun. I used to go and enjoy looking through the aisles and picking food, and you go with the munchies and you pick out something you like. Now it's all purpose and reason. You go in, follow the arrows, make sure you got your gloves on, make sure you got a mask on. You can't even tell if people are smiling at you. But I will tell you my experience. We, against my better judgment, Rachel wanted to go to Target, pick up some things. And she said, well, listen, while we're here, why don't we get our soaps and stuff like that? And I'm like, it kind of makes sense because you can save a little bit more doing that. So we did, but long story short, you end up with a full carriage. And in this case, they had some TP, and we took advantage of what they had left. And what it was is it was this gigantic package of Shaman, like mega strong paper. It's 130 rolls. I mean, the thing was gigantic. It looked like I was moving a Volkswagen. So, you get the looks from people because they think you're hoarding. But, no, we're not hoarding. I mean, that's all that was left. If there was a smaller package of TP, I would have bought it. But in this case, there wasn't. So we grabbed it. But, I was in the store, and you would think, I had a mask on. I had my thing. And not that I am not anti-people, but I just, I'm a little anti-corona. And of all the people, people are just drawn to me. I don't know why. The lady walks up to me, taps me on the shoulder. I turn around. She's like, sir, can you help me? I can't reach the soda on the shelf. It was the last 2 bottles in the back of the shelf. So, of course, I turn around and I reach and I get the bottles for her. And I go, she's going to go reach for the bottles. I said, no, let me put them in your carriage for you. There's no reason for us to. And I did. And, I Didn't know if she went, and that was pretty much it. But it just, again, not that I would ever avoid people or ever do I try to avoid people, but in this case, I'd be a little more sensitive to what's going on with people. I mean, it is what it is. And, the worst part for me is as I was walking through, we had a couple more aisles to go, and we're in like the frozen food section, and I'm walking by a guy, we'll just say a guy. He might even had a NASCAR hat on. I'm not sure. But anyway, and the guy, I mean, like it would be me, right? It would be like, Bobby Kudo, OCD, right? Capital O, capital C, capital D. The guy coughs. And he doesn't even cough into his arm. Like he nonchalant does it. You know what I mean? So like half on his arm, half all over me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this it? Is this how I'm going down? Like this, it's gonna be me walking through a freaking Target, buying some things for my family, and I got this guy who's coughing on me. So I guess the reason I'm even bringing this up is a little etiquette. I mean, really, right? I mean, I guess we're all trying to avoid, catching this freaking thing, and you do whatever you can, but you got one person, and the funny thing was, Rachel was up ahead of me a little bit, and she knew, like she heard it. And I almost cringed, and the only thing that, like, I'm thinking to myself, gee, I have a mask on, right? So that should protect me. And of course, as soon as I get to the house, I'm stripping down and throwing the clothes in the fire. Because and who knows, right? You don't know. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't, you would think that would be it, right? Like that's the end of the story, but it's not. It's not. So we ended up going to the grocery store. Again, going through the aisles, just, checking stuff out. And wouldn't you know, this little old lady comes up behind me, just comes up behind me. I don't know where she came from. And she taps me on the shoulder and she says, like, she looks at her carriage and she says, but you got a lot of food there, right? I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, like, what is it? Am I not getting something? Like, am I giving off a vibe or something? And then I look at the lady and I'm thinking to myself, like, not that I have to explain myself, because now I feel guilty that I have a carriage of food, but I'm like, I got a family. This isn't just me. Like, I'm not the only one eating this food, right? But is it anybody else? Is it you too? Are you guys? I mean, I guess, like I said, I don't want to be like germophobic, but I guess you kind of have to be a little bit, right? I mean, this isn't any time to be messing around. Like, I guess if there was ever a time, to practice, good, like, hygiene, right? Like on another level. I guess what I'm saying is be careful, everyone, right? Like, just be conscious of your surroundings. I know that, like, kind of like the whole arrow thing, but this is real. We're in it. This is it. Like, it's for real. Like, I sometimes have a tough time over 1 million cases in the USA. 54,000 people have lost their lives to this terrible disease. I mean, it's just horrible to be at this point in time where this is the new norm. I guess there's good and bad and everything. The environmentalists are saying that the earth has never been more cleaner. The air is cleaner. Obviously less cars on the road. Factories are not operating, so the pollutants, right. So I mean, there's a good side of it, and and then of course there's the other side of that where a lot of these states are deciding they're going to open, they're going to partially open, they're going to. I mean, listen, I'm all about moving forward and putting this shit behind us, but I got to be honest with you. I know I mentioned it in 34, and I'll say it in 35. I think it's too soon, man. I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me. I know a lot of people are just, and I know it's tough. If for me, I'm working. I'm still going to work, so I'm still experiencing life outside of my house. But for those of you who are home, doing the right thing, self-quarantining and trying to minimize the contact with other people. I can imagine how difficult it is at some point, and at this point to be like, listen, I need to get the fuck out of this cage. Like, I am all done. I am all set. There isn't enough wine. You're right. There isn't enough Jerry Springer. Like, I need to get out of this house. But I think it might be just a little too soon. Nothing has changed, right? I mean, I'll ask you guys. I will ask everyone. What has changed? I mean, it's still, everything is still the same. There isn't a vaccine. maybe the rate at which we can test people has increased. But at the end of the day, what is changed? What scientific significance or discovery has been made to warrant that we continue to interact and exchange germs? I don't understand it, and I fear that they keep talking about the second wave, and I'm always cautious when I hear things like that, because to me it's always the Y2K. You know what I mean? Like, here we go again. It's the sky is falling, and I get all that. But, in this case, it makes sense to me. Like, you look at the people in Florida, and nothing against, my fans in Florida. I love you. But, I get it. The beach is a big deal. But, the problem is nobody's practicing the social distancing. And you know what? And for all of you who are going to argue this and say, oh, well, it's all made up and it's over-exaggerated. You know what? That's fine. Tell that to the 54,000 people that are dead. Seriously. Seriously, think about that. Think about what you're saying. Most people won't comment about rape or child death. People don't typically comment on those things because they're sensitive subjects. But, let's not lose sight of what this is. We're talking about 54,000 people that had families. Those are 54,000 families. Sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, you name it. Gone. Kids. Right? And we can choose to just look at it as a number, or we can choose to see what it is. And it's a serious, serious problem. It's a pandemic. And personally, if I didn't think that the work I was doing was essential and that I was helping the system and feeding the supply chain, then I would be home. But I feel like I'm making a difference. I feel like I'm having impact in one way or another that's moving product in a forward fashion so that people can get the things that they need. So, I know that the idea of being home for, again, I don't know what state you're in, but Governor Baker extended out, to the middle of May, if I'm not mistaken, the 18th. And I agree, and I really do. And maybe because I'm in Massachusetts, and we have a lot of it here. But if you're in the the West Coast, it's dwindling away. But what does it take? Like, does it take one person, one truck driver that leaves Massachusetts and has a long haul to California, and what's it take? 7 days? Again, I don't want to be the theory conspiracy or the doom and gloom guy, but these are realities. These are things that we have to talk about. But guys, listen, I don't want to get off on a tear on that, but I just really wanted to get that out of the way. I wanted to just talk about that because I think it's real. I think that we, it's so easy to just start talking numbers, but this is beyond numbers. This is a serious problem that we all have to, you know what? Thank you. No matter what it is that you're doing, whether it be staying home or whether it be going to work and providing those essential necessary needs, services, thank you. Everybody's making a sacrifice. Do I think people are beyond the point of enjoying it? Yeah, I think so. It's, you got to think about it. Our parents and their parents never experienced anything like this, right? This is on a global level. This is probably the most human impacting, let's call it, event that has probably impacted mankind, right? You think about it. You think of the Mayans, you think of the Inca, and those people, they disappeared. One day they were there, one day they were not, and you would wonder how something like that could happen. And here you go. Something like this could wipe out a complete civilization. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, and you know what? We have to continue to move forward. We can't keep looking back and understand that things have changed and things are going to be different for a long time. But I think that if we make the right decisions now, if we just let that bread bake a little longer, it's going to be that much better. So that's it. And I don't want to talk about Corona anymore. I'm kind of done with the whole Corona thing. But listen, if you guys didn't know, Run-D.M.C, 1986, right? Would you ever guess 1986? That was quite the year. And I will tell you, I'll give you a little foresight on this episode, there is quite a bit of discology. I mean, we're talking some great music. When I started building the show, I didn't even realize how much great music there was until I started to put the show together. And I'm like, this is going to be great. I mean, the audience is going to love it. The fans are going to love it. And we're all going to enjoy it together. So let's talk about 1986. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it. Let's get primed and ready here. So the cost of living in 1986. The average cost of a new home was about $89,000. Median price for an existing home, about $80,000. Your average income was about $22,000. Average monthly rent for somebody, $385. I find that expensive. Average price for a new car, $9,200. And if you needed some gasoline for that car, it was going to run you 89 cents a gallon. That's not bad, right? Then, but you see gas prices now. I mean, it's unbelievable. Supply and demand, right? Like, talk about it. I actually, posted a couple of things on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I think this one was on Twitter. And I would tell you, like, when I post on TikTok kind of drops it on every other platform. The only one that it doesn't, if you don't follow the show on Twitter, then you're missing out. Because I do post things on Twitter, and I do share my opinion more on Twitter than I do the other social media platforms for many reasons. I think Twitter is more of that soapbox platform. You got something to say, you have an opinion, can share that opinion with like-minded people. And I think that the Instagram has its purpose, and I believe that Facebook as well. I'm cautious on those platforms because you got a lot of people that are viewing and intaking that media and that information about the show, and I really want it to be worth it. When you see a post from me, I want you to be like looking forward to it. I don't want to be, I look at a lot of these other podcasts and these shows and these other hosts, and it's constant. It's almost to the point where you're kind of like, ugh, I'm sick of it. And I don't ever want to do that. I always want it to be that you're looking forward to it. You know what? Perfect example. Like Tom Brady doesn't post very often, but when he does, it's like everybody's looking forward to it because it's usually something cool. And I want to be like that. You know what I mean? So if I want to be like anything, I want to be like Tom Brady. Except now, because I will tell you what. I mean, if it wasn't bad enough, this whole Corona thing, 2020 has been an absolute disaster. And I'm a happy guy. I'm not doom and gloom. But in this case, we lose Tom Brady, right? So that's it. All starts. Tom Brady goes. Then Corona, right? And then all of a sudden, if you don't know, Rob Gronkowski now going to, right, Tampa Bay. I mean, so then and that's not the worst part. It was 20 years of just bliss, football bliss, of enjoying this amazing relationship between the quarterback and his coach. And then all of a sudden, after all these years, true to the saying, if you're a hero long enough, you're going to be a hero long, you'd end up dying a villain. And so be the case with Tom Brady. And it's all this conversation about, how they didn't get along and how there were things that, the whole AB thing, and there were situations, I personally, between just me and you, just you and I believe that, with the whole, I think it started with Jimmy, and when they, because I think honestly between us, I think Bill wanted to trade Tom at the time and keep Jimmy Garoppolo. You know what I mean? Minus the franchise tag. They keep him. You got a quarterback. He knows the system. It's seamless. You just keep going on until you retire. That didn't work out. They ended up losing Jimmy to San Francisco. And I think at that point, it was just pretty much downhill. And you knew something was up when Tom missed the OTAs. Now, that was a big deal because Tom always made it. And when you knew that he didn't make it, and then, of course, you hear in the news that there was some marital issues with him and Giselle, which, it fools me because, if I follow him on Instagram and I follow him on Twitter, and they're always kissy-facing all the time. So I don't know what they're talking about. In that case, to me, it sounds like shenanigans. But either way, it was what it was. If you have to give it a villain, then give it the villain of the relationship. That's fine. But so the whole thing with, Rob left, retired, which now all of a sudden, surprise, he's now at, Tampa Bay Buccaneer. And turns out, I guess, when you retire, you're still eligible for trade, I guess, in this case. And so now he's there, and Tom's going to be throwing the football to him. So, it will be, if it even happens, guys. At this rate with Corona, I don't know if there's going to be any football, but unless they're going to be playing, I don't know, on their Xboxes. But in this case, unless they do play, Would it be out of the question to say that maybe Antonio Brown ends up there as well, and then now he has exactly what he wants? Right? I mean, Tampa Bay was already a good setup. I mean, again, I don't want to drown everything in football, but in this case, I just wanted to share that because it's heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And it's not bad enough that we're talking about 1986. And, if you don't remember, you should, because that was the Bill Buckner year. That was the year that the Red Sox lost to the Mets when they should have won. But, we could talk about that later. We don't have to talk about that right now. But moving on, I started talking about Tom Brady, and it's funny, because even with the family, they avoid the conversation with me. I'm very passionate about it. You know what I mean? It's been 20 years. That's a relationship. You know what I mean? That's what right? That's a long time to love somebody. You know what I mean? And I know I speak for all the Tom Brady fans out there. Like, you love him. I mean, we love him. And he's gone. And was it like, honestly, was it the best move he could have ever made financially? Of course it was. He just expanded his fan base by how many, seriously, like, now you had just Boston. Like, if anybody knows, unless you're from New England, and there's a few people out there, but unless you're from New England, you hate him, right? Because he's stolen 6 championships. So that's enough for everybody to hate. But in this case, he's right? Oh, man. Well, it is what it is. So, I mean, you got to move on from these things, and you have to put them behind you. I can't even, like, I can't even continue. I lose sight of it. So moving on, guys, let's talk about a couple other things. Let's talk about 1986. Let's talk about the portable color television, huh? Remember that little Casio? That would have ran you $249. A jar of peanut butter would have been $149. Potato chip. Oh, potatoes, 5 pounds, $1. Potato chips were 79 cents. You could buy a Plymouth Colt for $4,999, right? That's like a Walmart price. And a Ford Mustang, right? $7,000, $7,452 for a Ford Mustang. So I remember a lot of friends of mine had it. All my Portuguese friends, they had to have a Ford Mustang. Speaking of Portuguese, in case you haven't noticed, I haven't been posting myself recently, and the reason is because I'm total Portuguese. Like, I've gone total Portuguese. The eyebrows, like, my hair's all wigged out. So I'm fully grown of hair, and gotten to the point now where I'm not even styling it anymore. Just kind of wake up. I take my shower and just kind of let it fall where it falls, and I am who I am. Take me the way I am, and that's pretty much it. And I don't know if you guys are in the same situation as me. But I'm looking forward to getting this haircut as soon as that's a possibility. You're damn right, I'm going to be doing that. Soviet nuclear reactor at Chernobyl explodes. 1986. Guys, remember this? Chernobyl? I mean, everybody knows Chernobyl because of how many horror movies have they made where they're based in Chernobyl, right? Easy one. In 1986, guys, that was a test. They were doing a test. They were checking stuff out, and that was total human error. That wasn't even mechanical failure. That was somebody didn't do something, and that place gone, evacuated all those people. And and the biggest thing is it wasn't just Chernobyl. I mean, the effect that had on the world. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. And then all that radiation, all those particles were just kind of just floating in the air, and it was going into like parts of Europe and like Sweden, Finland. You could actually see it on the map going through all those. Imagine that. I mean, can you imagine minding your business, right? Again, I hate to go back full circle, but kind of like this Corona thing, right? I mean, here we are minding our business, just doing our thing, right? Everybody's working, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden, boom, done, just like that. Same thing here. Like, you're just minding your business. You're in Sweden, right? Doing Sweden stuff, and then all of a sudden, it starts to rain radiation, right? Now you're dying of cancer. You have tumors, right? I mean, it's just amazing. But if you guys didn't know, they just recently found in that Chernobyl site a bacteria that eats radiation. Amazing, right? I mean, it's just one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. So that's pretty cool and promising. Imagine that they could develop a bacteria that they could just put in there, and this bacteria would eat the radiation. You know what I mean? Like, you think about that. Like, nobody ever talks about it. But how much nuclear waste do we have stored? Like, you can't just, where does that stuff go, right? Some hole in the ground, and in that, some like tunnel, and they keep it there forever. It's just like a million years that this stuff can't, right? It's pollutant. Imagine just getting rid of all that. Just done with it. I mean, that's really where we need to be. I mean, you talk about like 1986, that was the year the Space Shuttle Challenger, that it disintegrated 73 seconds after launching. Seven souls. Yeah. Yep, that was 1986. I remember being home that day from school and watching it on TV. I remember it's as vivid as I can remember. I was eating raviolis, Chef Boyardee raviolis, watching this, and I remember being confused and almost thinking to myself, oh, maybe they're still alive. Maybe they somehow jettisoned out of the. How was I supposed to know? Because obviously the news wouldn't say definitively that these people had lost their lives. So, as a child, I had no idea. I was just sitting there watching it. It was amazing. One of the most, tragic events ever. But, again, with tragedy, you learn, right? You learn what went wrong, what did we do, what didn't work right, and you change that. I mean, you look at companies like SpaceX now. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Like, and you know what? They just developed that Dragon rocket, and it has so if the rocket were to explode. It jettisons the top of the rocket, and the astronauts survive. So they don't even. There's no risk. You know what I mean? Like it's everything is thought out. It's just amazing. But you had to get there, and the sacrifices of people that were on that shuttle Challenger. They're the ones that that's how we evolve. And now it's almost daily. It's amazing. And can I tell you guys a secret? I'm gonna tell you a secret. I tell you guys, I'm always trying to. Make the show better. You know what I mean? And in this case, I've decided I don't use the headphones. I had the Beats headphones. I absolutely love them. They sound fantastic, but they're the Bluetooth version and they're over the ear, and they tend to they get heavy. I guess maybe the battery in them. And when you're sitting here doing a podcast for 2 hours, it gets heavy. So I decided, I did some research about getting like earbuds, and that's pretty much what a lot of people do. But of course, doing a lot of research, realizing that they have ear monitors. You guys got to check this out. Do a YouTube search for ear monitors, and these things are just phenomenal. In my case, mine's got 10 modules, 5 modules in each ear, and each module is a different frequency of the scale, and including a bass driver. So I was concerned because to me, when I record the show, I want to hear my voice, and I want to hear it how you're going to hear it. And I wonder, because the earbuds, they just don't have the dynamics. So let me tell you, I paid $49 for these things. They're on Amazon. I will have to, what I'll do is I'll put the description of the name. I don't have the information with me here, but they are absolutely phenomenal, and they sound fantastic. And I hope I sound to you as good as I think I do. If that makes sense. So I just wanted to let you know I'm really excited about it. I couldn't wait to use them. So this is the one that I decided to go with. So it's great. Listen, continue on. Mad cow disease. You guys remember this? First case of the BSE, more commonly known as mad cow disease, was found during November of 1986, and that was just devastating. They said that over 150,000 cows in Britain had gotten that disease. I mean, that's just amazing. And of course, you can't eat the stuff because it makes you crazy. Like it's tainted meat. So they had to take care of that problem. Imagine that. So you know what? Problems, man. I keep saying it. We come across these hurdles in life, and through the generations, every generation has their challenges. Every single generation has a story to tell, and this is just one of those. I think this is one of those situations. This Corona, guys, is as hard as it came in. It can go out as quickly if they can come with. If somebody comes up with, they said that India, that they have a vaccine and that they're actually putting in production right now. If they have a vaccine for this thing, I mean, think about it. Within the next couple of months, everybody gets a vaccine, and you don't have to worry about it anymore, right? How great would that be? You're just back to normal, and you almost wonder how you're going to get back to normal, and that would be it. That would be the only way that we could get back to normal, is if we could get vaccinated for this thing. So, and also, hey, listen, just so you know, in 1986, the U.S. smoking banned on public transport. No more smoking on airplanes. Remember that? If you guys, old movies, that's the only way you're going to see that is planes, trains, and buses. People used to smoke anywhere. They didn't care. Imagine now, anybody who travels and gets on an airplane, imagine being in that small compartment and somebody lighting up like a stogie, right? I mean, I couldn't. I couldn't. Today, like I mean, that's oh my God, unheard of. But back then, that's what people were doing. Yeah. You know who else was cool in 1986? Was Oprah Winfrey. Yep, her show started in 1986. The show had been a success with local Chicago audiences. So she's the one that signed that syndicate deal, and she aired over 25 seasons, 45 daytime Emmy awards. And she used the show for her platform. Who was more influential than Oprah? Oprah, like, she just literally ran the world. I remember the years of her being on TV. I was in cable. I remember working cable, and she would be on local. You know, maybe it was NBC, Channel 4, maybe I'm wrong, Channel 5, whatever it was. The problem is back in the day, it's a short story. I used to work at Comcast. The guide wouldn't populate for local channels for whatever reason. I don't know if the local channels were supposed to provide that information and they didn't. And it was for whatever reason. If you guys remember that not going back that far, but we're talking, maybe let's just say 12 to 15 years ago, and the guide would just say local broadcasting, but it would be the Oprah Winfrey Show. So a lot of people, and we'll just say majority women, would program to record the Oprah Winfrey Show, but it wouldn't say the Oprah Winfrey Show. It would only say local programming. So you had to kind of set it up to record the time. And I know, so long story somewhat short. The problem would be there were times where it wouldn't record. And there were people that would listen, no joke. They would call up, and I would go to the house, and they would demand they wanted a new box. They were mortified. And then when I told them, hey, listen, if you take this box out of here, you're going to lose all your recorded episodes. Forget about it. People would go crazy. Like today, that's not a problem because you stream everything, right? Nothing is recorded. But back then, like we're talking the beginning of this technology where everything was recorded on a hard drive in the cable box. So if your cable box wasn't operating the way it should, then I would have to remove it. And in this case, you would lose everything recorded. So there you have it. That was a struggle. But that was my experience with Oprah Winfrey. And just to prove a point, I mean, she was so influential, and people like literally out of their minds for the Oprah Winfrey Show. Haley's Comet. You guys remember Haley's Comet? That was pretty cool. I remember all the fuss about it. I do remember it. I remember cutting the piece of paper out. I don't know if you guys remember cutting out a piece of paper with a little hole in it. I never quite understood the concept behind that, but maybe if you guys want to hit me up on maybe TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and explain to me what is maybe there's some school teachers out there who listen and know. Like, what's the point of poking the hole in the paper with the paper behind it to see any clips, right? Oh, gee, that's what I'm confusing it. All right, so it wasn't Haley's Comet. It was the eclipse that you do the paper thing, right? Haley's Comet was the comet. Yeah. See, I don't even know how I confused that. One was at night. Either way, Haley's Comet. That was the closest it came to, and I remember them saying it would be 80 years before it would come back around again, and people were really into that. They said that, and then of course all the end of the world conspiracy theorists were saying that it was going to be the end of the world, and it was the Mayans, and it was the comet was a sign that it was all over. Yeah. If you guys didn't know, on March 8th, there was an initiative. There was an initiative by a lot of artists in 1986, and it was called Hands Across America. It was We Are the World, the USA for Africa Fund, and it was a lot of musical artists who were trying to raise money to feed starving people in Africa. So, of course, they all get together. It ended up being like a huge success. They made countless, ridiculous amounts of money, and it was a program that they put together, and they literally recorded. They recorded this song, and they kind of got the word out. And then on this day, it was in May. It was a campaign for the human chain across the world. And the idea was you donated $10, and you would get in line, and you would literally hold hands. And it was during this period, for a period of time. And the idea was that they were going to wrap the world in hands. So in this case, it ended up being over 6.5 million people participated. It was fantastic. It was amazing. I remember the excitement about it. I remember how big it was. I remember all the musical stars that were participating. They hyped the heck out of this thing. And I'm glad that it was a huge success because there was a lot of needy people that needed it. The audio that came out of that, the musical collaboration that was put together by Quincy Jones, who orchestrated the whole thing, was absolutely phenomenal. And I want you guys to hear it. So I'm going to play a little bit for you right now, and you let me know what you think.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all.
So that doesn't bring back some memories. We're talking Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Dionne Womack, Willie Nelson, Bruce Springsteen, Kenny Loggins, Steve Perry, Daryl Hall, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Bob Dylan, Ray Charles. Just amazing. There's Michael. And I remember the song. It was, everybody was, this was. Good stuff. I remember it. It was fantastic. Amazing. Yeah, it was great. It was great. So that was there, and they made a boatload of money putting that together. And it did a lot of good. So I'm glad I was a part of that. It just took me back there for a second. I went back. It was great. It was absolutely fantastic. In 1986, of course, we talk about influential, and not to cut this off, but fantastic. Thank you very much for all those artists for your sacrifice, which was fantastic. But this was also, guys, listen, I'll be honest with you. Before I even go there, I will tell you, I'm not a huge fan. I've never been, and maybe that's what I need to do. But I watched the movie, and I know the story, and it just, to me, it was really, really played out. But it was really influential in 1986, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. And, of course, I'm talking about Phantom of the Opera. Andrew Lloyd Webber's music adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. It debuted in October. Some of you are fans. And maybe, like I said, maybe I need to go. Maybe I need to culture myself a little bit and go. I know, Rachel's dying to go, and I should just go. It's just some of it's just hokey. It is what it is. What are you gonna do? Shame on me, right? For saying that. It is what it is. It's great, if you're into that, stuff, it's fantastic. I go for it. I'm all about it. It's fantastic. Good for you. Phantom of the Opera. Congratulations. They are still going. Of course, not now, but because Corona. But before Corona, for how long? How many years? I wish I would have got that information. I should have. But 1986. So there you have it. Some other things to talk about. You ready for this? You guys want to talk about some movies? Let's talk about movies, right? Some really influential, popular movies. And of course, there wouldn't be a more influential, more popular movie than this movie. Released in May, the Top Gun Naval Fighter Weapons School. It's where they train the best. fighter pilot Maverick Tom Cruise. His reckless attitude and cocky demeanor put him at odds with other pilots, especially the cool, collected Iceman. Maverick isn't only competing to be the top fighter pilot, he's also fighting for the attention of his beautiful flight instructor, Charlotte Blackwood. All kidding aside, the budget for that movie was $15 million. Just in the U.S. alone, it made $356 million. There you have it. Whether you like him or not, Tom Cruise, right? Another one, right? Another movie that was out that year, Crocodile Dundee. You guys remember Crocodile Dundee? That's not a knife. This is a knife. Mike Dundee. Do you know that's Paul Hogan? You didn't know that, did you? And he wrote it. If you didn't know, he wrote the character for Crocodile Dundee. And that was a budget. I love this. This is a budget of $8.8 million. $8.8 million. It made $328 million. Crazy, right? I mean, crazy. Not Danger Zone. It's the Highway to the Bank with that one for sure. And another popular movie was Platoon. I remember Platoon was big, and it was that time. The 80s guys. It was all about like war movies. Rambo, Commando, even Chuck Norris was in there. There was a couple of them, man. That you kind of, Remo Williams, if you guys remember, and it was a lot of these type kind of movies. And Platoon, that was with Charlie Sheen, and he played a character, Chris Taylor. And it was really these movies, where they were always one up another, more graphic, more violent. And this one was really more based as like a real, hey, like this could be for real, and it was based in Vietnam, and of course, Charlie Sheen has an issue with his platoon, and he's at war, and it's really all about. But anyway, long story somewhat short, $6 million budget. That movie made $138 million. And again, the franchise for Top Gun. I mean, they just came out with a Top Gun 2. I haven't seen it yet. I probably will. If that wasn't bad enough, talk about money, then it was this hit that came along with it. Berlin. Put you to sleep, but that was a huge hit. Number one, broke all kinds of records. Ridiculous amounts of money. But another big movie that was out was Karate Kid Part 2. And if you guys don't remember, let me just remind you a little something of it right here. And not to be confused, I thought it was Chicago, but it wasn't.
Tonight it's very clear as we're both lying here. There's so many things I want to say. I will always love you. I would never leave you alone.
A lot of sappiness, right, in the 80s? But that was Karate Kid Part 2. That's when he went. He went back with Miyagi, and things didn't work out. He fell in love, and the dad didn't like it. But, again, another huge hit. $13 million budget. Just in the U.S. $115 million. All the way to the bank, Mr. Ralph Macchio. All the way to the bank. Wipe on, wipe off. Wax on, wax off. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And if, if you don't realize it, you wouldn't realize it. But I mean, to be at that point where you're in the 80s, you're in the middle of it, music was kind of but in this case, I went through 1986, specifically 1986, and I will tell you, this discology tonight, the one I'm going to play for you guys today, is phenomenal. The music, you know what, I stopped because it was too much. Like, there was just so much great music. And, to go along with that, if you're not a fan, I'm a fan. And you've probably heard me talk about it in the past. I am a fan. Thank you very much, Peter Katera. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. Let's move on. I am a huge fan, and I hope you are as well. This was the year that this movie was released. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. That's when they went to go get Spock, if you don't remember. Good stuff, right? The Voyage Home, Star Trek IV. Go check it out. Who doesn't love William Shatner, right? Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. But that was a great flick. The whole franchise, Star Trek, they had a couple of them there that were kind of But that one was really good. I enjoyed that one. That one was good. And, of course, the score is fantastic. Always fantastic to Gene Roddenberry. Great franchise. But that wasn't it, guys. There was other great movies that year. Exactly. And even this one that I believe you cannot know what this is. After floating in space for 57 years, Lieutenant Ripley's Sigourney Weaver. Shuttle is found by a deep space salvage team. Upon arriving, the Marines find only one survivor, a 9-year-old girl named Newt. But even these hardened, battled Marines, with the latest weaponry, are no match for the hundreds of aliens that have invaded the colony. $18.5 million budget. Made a whopping $183.3 million. And the music's kind of dramatic. There you go. Right, every scene was this kind of music. Right. Ruthless People was another one, guys. Get too far with that one, but $9 million budget. That one made $71.6 million. Huh, not bad. The Color of Money with that was with Paul Newman. I'm not a huge fan. I was playing pool. Budget was $13.8 million. It made $52. Not bad. It made some money. And of course, one of my favorite movies, all-time favorite movies, The Money Pit, right? With Tom Hanks, right? Shelley Long. Good movie, right? Like two odds, two worlds. They end up buying a house. It's exactly what it is. It's a money pit. It was like this. Man fell through the floor, taking a bath. Imagine that. Or was it her? Or neither. I know the bathtub falls to the floor. I don't want the kid out of the bag. But they budgeted $10 million for that movie, and it made a whopping $54.9 million. There you go. And that was young Tom Hanks. That's when he was funny. That's when he was, that was when he had some funny personality. He wasn't so PC. Right? So what do you think? Guys, how is 35 going for you? Good? I feel good. Right? We're covering a lot of ground here. A lot of ground. But, hey, listen, I'm leading this in. And I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't done so already, get over to Etsy, right? Etsy.com/shop/The Bobby Kudo Show, and go show your support for the show. Go get a mug. Go get a tank top, visor. I got all kinds of stuff. I revamped it all. I got some new stuff on there. If you haven't been in there in a while, just go check it out. There's some really cool stuff there. And, of course, if you want to support the show, guys, I've now, again, I mentioned to you guys that I changed my hosting platform. Where previously we used to be with Podbean, and now I moved over to Anchor. And I thought that Anchor was a better fit for the show. Of course, now with Spotify actually owning Anchor and having that kind of media power, I thought it was really good for the show. Just the security of knowing that, tomorrow I'm not going to wake up and the hosting contract is dead. So in this case, I'm with Anchor, and with Anchor, it does give us the ability to gives me the ability to set up a link for sponsorship. So if you guys want to go check it out, it is actually anchor.fm/The Bobby Kudo Show /support. And you can go in there. You can do a one-time donation. I say donation. It's not a donation. It's a sponsorship. I'm not looking for donations. I mean, you know what? Maybe whatever you want to call it. It's whatever helps you. If you want to look, you want to help the show out. Help the show out. Even $1. Right? You can do the $1 a month. You can do the $4.99, the $9.99. There's a bunch of different options there. Again, it's a huge help to the show. Again, none of this stuff is free. You know, the hosting is expensive. The website is expensive, and it would be nice. And again, if you guys, if you have a business and if you want to sponsor the show, just go ahead and do it right through Anchor. Go in there and sponsor the show, and send me an email and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk about it on the show. Right? So there you go. How easy is that? Like now I don't feel bad about it. Go to anchor.fm /The Bobby Kudo Show /support and set it up, and then just send me an email. Say, hey, listen, Bobby, I signed up and I'm trying to sell napkins, right? And I'll sell you napkins for you. How about that? Huh? I'm always trying to do good. Trying to do good. And of course, Patreon, if you guys want to go check that out, that's also a great idea. So listen, before we move into the discology, can I just say one thing real crazy? How about like Kim Jong-un, right? What's up with him? That's not good, right? The guy's, nobody knows if he's alive. Nobody knows if he's dead. If you guys don't know, his sister, Kim Yo-jong, would be the successor. So I don't know, like they say, the devil you know is better than the one you don't. And in this case, you almost wonder, we have a relationship, or Trump has a relationship with this guy, and if he's not around, that's another shift in that region. You know what I mean? Like just all that progress that we've made. Who knows if she's going to continue to honor that, or if she's just going to go, a little cuckoo-cuckoo, and who knows in that case, right? Like, what do you do with something like that? You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either, buddy. I don't know. So let's talk about music. Let's talk a little bit about music. So to start this off, I thought, 1986, and what is more 1986 than Saturday Night Live Eddie Murphy, right? Like, if you think 86, you think Saturday Night Live, you think Eddie Murphy. And if you guys didn't know, check this out. Let me share this with you. Party All the Time, off his album, How Could It Be? Debuted in July. It made it all the way to number 2 in the top 100. And all because he made a bet with Richard Pryor. That's Mr. Eddie Murphy. Crazy, right? How crazy is that? I couldn't wait. And I was really excited to start off our discology with that song, because it's a testament to the time. It really is. And you know what? You can do anything with a computer. There wasn't one musician. Right, Rick James, you crazy bastard. And there is no, right? They literally put in a computer. And they spit it out. It's beat machines. It is what it is. But with that said, this next group, we'll say a group, right? 6 ladies, fantastic, and they were very cultural. This particular song was pretty popular. Yeah, I don't think you could go to a school dance, to an event where you weren't hearing this song. And if you didn't know, the name of the group is Climax. I figured we'd get the sappy ones out of the way first. Off their album, Meeting in the Ladies' Room, this is I Miss You.
Thought I heard your voice yesterday when I turned around to say that I loved you.
It made 18 on the Billboard 200, number 9 on R&B album chart, certified platinum. But more importantly, it's the memories, right? Do you remember? I remember.
It seems colder lately at night.
Good stuff. That's Climax with a K. Great job, ladies. Great job. Sound fantastic. They absolutely sound fantastic. And this next artist, guy, this guy's epic, right? Like we're gonna get into some serious heavy hitters here in a second, and this is actually the beginning of that. This is one of those heavy hitters. This is one of the guys. This guy writing his own music. He was so influential. I mean, if you didn't know, absolutely amazing music, and this is just a testament to what he did in all of his artwork. And guys, I won't tell you, I like his music. I don't know that I'm a fan of him personally. I've happily watched a couple of shows where he been on and done like cameo, and I don't know, but nonetheless, I do appreciate his music, and this being one of them.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And of course, I'm talking about Mr. Billy Joel.
Some love is just a lie of the heart. The core remains of what began with a passionate start. And they may not want it to end, but it will. It's just a question of when. I've lived long enough to have learned. The closer you get to the fire, the more you get burned. But that won't happen to us, 'cause it's always been a matter of trust.
So that was Off the Bridge, his 10th studio album. Not bad. A Matter of Trust. Way to go, Billy Joel. And the guy was masterful on the piano. And I'll tell you guys, there was a time there where we would go, shout out Eddie. Eddie was my clubbing partner. We'd go to the Complex in Providence, and we'd go to the piano bar. We'd spend the whole night in that place. I mean, we had a lot of great times there, and a lot of good memories. I miss it. And that makes me think of it. When I think of Billy Joel, the Piano Man, all of his music, kind of a lot like Elton John. They just a lot of it's piano music that they obviously put instruments to, and they make it marketable. But ultimately, it's piano. He can play this on his piano. It's going to sound just as good. So shout out to him, man. I really appreciate it. And this next artist, you guys are gonna. I mean, this is just epic music. It's so influential, cultural. You hear it, and you know what? I would imagine. I want to call this the commercial episode, because I would imagine there's every commercial that's ever been, it's got one of these songs have been played in it. You know what I mean? That's how you know these things. But in this case, this artist, very, very famous, very, very popular, died at the age of 53. And I didn't know that until I think it was like episode 28 where I was doing some research for him. But here he is again, and he's got this amazing song. Mr. Robert Palmer. Addicted to Love. And this was off his 8th studio album, Riptide. Awesome stuff. There's some controversy there too, and if I'm not, you know what, I'm going to look into it. But I guess that video, if you guys remember the video, it was like the women behind them, and they're doing like that swagger dance with the guitar. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? The three with the hair pulled back. Well, apparently, if you watch the video, and I hope I'm not spreading rumors, but I think the middle person, or say woman, I'll say what I thought was a woman. I thought it was 3 women. I guess maybe not. Maybe the third one is a man. And if you notice it, if you happen to look in the region, I guess you can blatantly see that it is not a woman. So I'm going to have to check that out and check out the video. I probably should have checked that out before the show just to confirm it. But maybe a little fun, little treasure hunt for you guys to go check that out. This next artist, guys, you know who he is. You know him now because he's famous with American Idol. You know, and his daughter was famous there for a little bit. She had with the Paris Hilton show there. They were kind of doing their thing. And, of course, Lionel Richie came back. And this is my man when he was in 1986. This is him and one of his biggest hits. I mean, it's just, you can kind of tell the hokiness in it, but this is what was going on. What? Really, Lionel? You think so? Sounds like a party to me, buddy. Sounds like somebody's dancing on the ceiling, right? Self-titled album was his 3rd solo album.
What is happening here? Something's going on that's not quite clear. Somebody turn
If you didn't know, it made it to number 1.
on and have a party. It's starting tonight.
And sold 4 million copies.
When we're dancing on the ceiling. What a feeling. When we're dancing
I know you're dancing on the ceiling right now, right? How do you not? How do you not move to that, right? I'm telling you guys, if you think about it, each one of these songs have been in a commercial. But I don't think these next artists have. If you guys remember the drama, there was a lot of drama behind this next band. When I mention the name, you're going to be like, oh yeah, drama. David Lee Roth and Mr. Eddie Van Halen. You know, one of the greatest rock bands, hair rock bands. You know, literally, some people will tell you that Eddie Van Halen is the greatest guitar player to be walking the planet. It's very arguable. You could argue that, and I would argue that he could be the best. But in this case, they decided that they were going to go in a different direction. They went in a different direction than Mr. David Lee Roth, and they decided to go with this gentleman, Mr. Sammy Hagar, and release this great jam. 5150 was their 7th studio album, released in March. And there you have it. And that was one of 4 albums that they recorded post David Lee Roth. And I liked Sammy. Sammy was good. I didn't mind Sammy so much. You know, and that wasn't the only jam that came off that album. 5150 also had this great jam. You got to hear this one. How about it? Best of both worlds. Isn't that what we all want? The cake and eat it. Good stuff, man. You know, I remember driving, right? My Eagle, playing this. I mean, again, guys, I had my Eagle. We were in the 90s, late 90s, 2000s. And this is the stuff that I'm listening to, man. Just good stuff. It stands the test of time, true through the ages. And it's just always fantastic. This next band, I'll be honest with you guys, not my favorite, and I've mentioned to you guys in the past. This is, again, full closure. I'm not a huge Police fan. Sting. I'm not. But you know what? In this case, this is good stuff. Again, 1986, and this came off their album Zenyatta Mendata, and this jam was released in October. And the title? Don't Stand So Close to Me.
Young teacher, the subject
Good stuff, right?
of schoolgirl fantasy.
Yeah, I can get into that. I'm not a huge fan, but that I can get into. But you know what? That wasn't the only song off that album. Again, and this is the first time I'm doing this. Typically, we do the one song and we move on, but there's so many good, like, just good songs that I just couldn't walk away from them. And this one was off the same album. Like, you gotta put this on your playlist, right? You have to.
Don't think me unkind.
Good stuff, right?
Words are hard to find.
Yeah. And this next band, you guys are going to love this. Good stuff. We got to go quick, though, because there's so many. This next band, female lead vocalist, absolutely fantastic. Famous. Great music. The Pretenders, with this great jam coming at you. Check it out. And this was their fourth studio album. And it reached number 1.
Don't get me wrong. If I'm looking kind of dazzled, I see neon lights whenever you walk by.
Not bad, right? Good stuff. And of course, the Pretenders. I mean, they have a couple of great albums. And this particular one was just awesome. It was that one, and it was My Baby. It was the other jam that was on there. Also reached number 1. Like, super great music. Absolutely fantastic. This next group, guys, Phil Collins, I'm not a huge fan. But this is when it was Genesis, and they weren't too bad. But I will tell you, the jam is timeless, and I'm going to play the original for you just so you can appreciate it. And this is in 1986.
I must have dreamed 1,000 dreams, been haunted by a million screams, but I can hear them marching.
And that's The Land of Confusion. Again, released in 1986.
Did you read the news today?
But if you didn't know,
Who's gone away?
it was re-released in 2005 by this awesome band. And of course, I'm talking about Disturbed.
I must have dreamed 1,000 dreams, been haunted by a million screams, but I can hear them marching feet, moving into the street. Now did you read
Doesn't that get your blood pumping?
They say the day just gone now.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. It is just fantastic, right? I love it. We gotta move on.
There's too many men, too many people making too many problems, and there's not.
Yeah, gets me all pumped up. Fantastic. Good stuff. Thank you, Disturbed. I appreciate it. So let's just calm it down for a minute. Let's take a breath. Let's Let's slow down, take a breath. And again, remember that we're in the 80s, right? A lot of cocaine going around. People are chilling out. But if you don't remember, I'm going to remind you because I don't care. Whatever. I mean, from the point where you could remember to this point today, if you guys remember going to weddings, any wedding, you would have to remember this jam right here. Remember weddings? Mr. Chris de Burgh, off his album Into the Light. Lady in
Never
Red.
seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight. I've never seen you shine so bright. I've never seen so many men ask you if you wanted to dance. Looking for a little romance.
You guys remember, right?
Have a chance. I have never
If
seen
you
a
didn't,
dress you wear
this was the song, right? If you didn't ask her to dance the whole night,
that catch your eye.
when they played this, you had to go ask her.
I've been
It
blind.
was like your last chance.
Lady in red is dancing.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And if you didn't know, that was Chris's 8th studio album. Oh, pretty good. I'm not familiar with a lot of his music, but I do know Lady in Red, and that is quite popular. So this next artist, I'm just going to lower that just a little bit. This next artist, worthy. I again, not on the top of my list of favorite artists, but worthy of appreciation because, I mean, she was doing stuff that no one else was doing. I remember her, the first time seeing her on the MTV Music Awards, and she came out dressed in this drag music and and the name of the song was Like a Virgin, and she was on the stage and she was humping the stage. And guys, I know today we're like just desensitized to that. It's not because, I mean, if you're on social media, like the things you see there in comparison to what, I mean, you know what, imagine the Super Bowl, this last Super Bowl, right, with J-Lo, right? This was kind of equivalent to that. But going back in the 80s, people were a little more uptight than they are right now. But in this case, she was so influential. Of course, I'm talking about Madonna, who is and continues to put music out. She's just one of those artists that for years, and she kept reinventing. At one point, she was British. I don't even know how that happened, but she went full out British. And every interview she did, she spoke with a British accent. But this was big in 1986. This was very, very, very topical. It was borderline, heresy. Like you weren't really just singing and talking about these things, but she was. And she was always pushing the envelope. And this song was just an example of that. This was off her album True Blue. It was her 3rd studio album. And guys, credit Madonna, singer-songwriter. This is stuff that she wrote herself and put together herself. And she is truly an artist, and you have to give her credit for that. And this was a huge jam, guys. I remember everybody was listening to this. It was about teenage pregnancy, right? The album talked about love. It talked about freedom. And again, teenage pregnancy was a huge deal back then. And if you didn't know, this album is an archetype of the late 1980s and 1990s. It was just phenomenal. Good stuff. There you go, Madonna. Thank you, Madonna. Thank you. And this next artist, guys, I want to just start off by saying a true tragedy to lose. I believe, in my opinion, some may argue, a true, I believe that we all got to experience and enjoy this individual as a musical genius, considering the not only the plethora of music that he created, but the genre. I believe that this individual was not rap, rock, jazz, whatever you could think of. He was his own genre. And of course, I'm talking about none other than Prince. We gotta move on, guys. I'm sorry. And that was off his album Parade, his 8th studio album. Phenomenal. Rest in peace, Prince. Kiss. What a great jam. Yeah. Worthy. Rest in peace. Yeah. Paisley Park. What a great place, right? Amazing. It's just a tragedy to lose somebody like that. So, moving on, guys. It makes me sad to think about it. Moving on, this next band, very cultural, huge cultural. I believe he's still maybe putting out music. And of course, I'm talking about Boy George. But in this case, for this music, he was part of the band Culture Club. And this was a real popular song. And of course, you're going to know it as soon as I play it. This was off their album Colors with Numbers. And I'll be honest with you guys, I do know, because I watched a documentary, VH1 documentary about Culture Club, and the whole album, I think they had like 3 or 4 albums, and all 3 or 4 albums were about the relationship that Boy George, I'm sorry, the name escapes me, had with the guitar player for the band. They had a relationship, and all these songs are about their relationship. So, inspiration, right? And it's rare that we get back-to-back artists. I like to think that, I mix it up a little bit, but I couldn't avoid it. Again, this artist being timeless, and I know you'll agree, and he doesn't need much introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway, Mr. Bruce Springsteen.
He had mud caked on his goggles and a screaming 350 stacked up on his back. Well, as he passed the stands, he's feeling all tuckered out. Then through the roar of his engine, he heard somebody shout, "Stand on! Come on, boys, stand on!"
And I'll tell you, man, timeless. And this was a B-side. Stand On It was on B-side, and it was huge. It was a big hit. And here we are. Like, my goodness, 40 years later, and it's just fantastic, right? Awesome stuff. Fantastic. Grammy Award winner, Tonys, you name it. This guy, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Hats off to you, Mr. Bruce Springsteen. Good stuff. Moving on. I know we got to go quick, guys. I'm sorry. We got a lot of them. And this next band, you're going to love these guys. Pet Shop Boys, and of course, I'm talking about this popular song that was released in 1986, which was called West End Girls. Debuted in March of 1986 and reached number 1. have it. And that was off their album, Please. That was their debut album, released in March. Popular song, though, you know it. I know you know it. That was kind of either way. Other songs that were released too that were huge. Huey Lewis in the News, Stuck on You. I don't know if you guys remember that one. That one was pretty cool. Falco, remember that one? Rocky Amadeus. You know what? I'll play it for you guys just because it's just, it really is cultural. This is just, you hear it and you're like, damn, I remember that. There you have it. Falco 3. And the song was released in German. The only English spoken words are Rock Me Amadeus.
Er war ein Punker und er lebte in der großen Stadt. Es war in Wien, war Vienna, wo er alles tat. Er hatte Schulden, denn er trank, doch ihn liebten alle Frauen. Und jede rief, na kann man Rock Me Amadeus.
I mentioned cocaine in the 80s, right?
Er war populär, er war so exaltiert, because er hatte Flair. Er war ein Virtuose.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Again, just awesome stuff. And this next band, guys, we're talking epic. And even now, their reputation, flawless. Just a great band with some really great music. I mean, I can think of, especially when I hear this jam, and I know when you hear it, it's gonna. And this is why I was really looking forward to this set, because this music it's gonna take you back.
And you're too late, darling. You give love a bad name.
And this was off their Slippery When Wet album. It was their third for the American rock band Bon Jovi. Number one, guys. 12 times platinum. One of the top 100 best-selling albums in the United States of all time. So go get it. Put it on your playlist. Slippery When Wet. You'll love it. Love it. There's, some jams on there. Living on a Prayer. You name it. It's just good. You play it start to finish. Just one of those albums that you could just literally play it start to finish. Right? Just fantastic stuff. And I've got listen, a couple more, and then I'll walk us out of here. But there's just a couple that I couldn't avoid. And in this case, this band was really, really great. They had this one album. They had the one hit. What really made it big was the movie, or I should say the series, miniseries that it was associated with. But these guys were fantastic. And if you guys remember the band Crowded House, and they had this fantastic album. And this was off their debut album, self-titled Crowded House.
There is freedom within, there is freedom without. Try to catch the deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Head now,
Great jam, right? Awesome. And if you remember, Stephen King's The Stand, if you guys haven't watched that miniseries yet, if you guys are home and you're quarantining, do yourself a favor and stream. It's a 5-part miniseries, The Stand. Amazing storyline. I'm not a super huge Stephen King fan, but in this case, it's a fantastic miniseries about. And it really starts off with just real quick. It's about a weaponized strain of influenza, and somehow it escapes the lab, right? Kind of like similar to what we're dealing with now. And the storyline, it literally almost wipes out all of human population. But the people that are left literally just form, two sides. There's the good and the evil. So it kind of brings it's you got the whole flu element, and then of course obviously the pandemic, but then of course you got the kind of religion, good versus evil. Just a great story. Trash Can Man. If you guys haven't had a chance, go check it out. Watch it. I'm telling you, you'll thank me. And if you do watch it and you really enjoy it, please hit me up, thebobbycudoshow@gmail.com. or any of the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Leave me a message, right? You got to. Good stuff. Thank you, Crowded House. Good stuff. Go watch The Stand. 1994 was when it was released on ABC. Don't read the book. It takes too much time. Right? So I would be, again, excuse me for the pun, but I would be remiss if I didn't play this next band. Just, again, I'm a Boston guy, and this next band, of course, is a Boston band. And this popular jam was huge. The album itself, I'll tell you guys, the name of the album is Third Stage. It's kind of okay. Not their best album, but it did have this one huge hit that was released in September. And it actually the album went 4 times platinum because of this jam. Check it out. You're going to love it. And if you guys didn't know, there's only 2 original members of the band.
Tomorrow's so far away. There's something I just have to say. I don't think I could hide what I'm feeling inside. Another day, knowing I love you. And I'm getting too close.
Good stuff, right? Just amazing. You're going to really appreciate the harmony and the way that they sing because they're absolutely phenomenal. And they're good stuff. You know what? That's great barbecue music. If you're outside barbecuing, if you're out in the yard working, put on some Boston, man, and you can't help but move around. And that was again, the album was Third Stage. Kind of you can actually go listen to Boston 1 and 2, 2 and 3, I believe. Fantastic albums. But this song was Amanda. So if you're to all the Amandas out there, this one's for you. Good stuff, right? You're gonna love this next one. You ready? I'm just gonna play it. You guys can hear it. You're gonna love it, and then I'll talk about it.
Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over.
This is all 1986.
So many things that I wanna say. I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use your love tonight. I don't wanna lose your love tonight. I ain't got many friends to talk
Good stuff. And that's the band The Outlaw, and that's Your Love off their album Deep Play, and this was their debut album. And Your Love reached number 6 in the U.S. Billboard. A lot of love in the 80s, right, guys? Good stuff, guys. Thank you, The Outfield. Fantastic. You know what? I should have asked you what band was that, because you wouldn't have guessed it. If I didn't tell you that was The Outfield, you'd never know it. So, mental note, trivia, you're going to know that was the band The Outfit, all right? And this next artist doesn't need any introduction. The guy's been around forever and will continue to be around forever. But I chose this because I remember this song. I remember the Cold War coverage, the anti-Russia campaign. It was the U.S. versus Russia. There was a lot of that going on. I do remember all that. And this song was a great example of that. And really, this was about an artist writing about the conflict. And in this case, he's singing about a Russian troop. And the name of the song is Nikita, and the artist is Mr. Elton John. And the name of the album is Ice on Fire. And he actually has that written in the lyrics of this song. Little Easter egg for you. And this was his 19th studio album.
In a guitar, is it cold? In your little corner of the world, you could roll around the globe and never find a warmer soul to know. Oh, I saw you by the wall. Soldiers in a row with eyes that looked like ice on fire.
There it was, Ice on Fire. And that's for you, Brother Lou. Brother Lou is such a huge Elton John fan. And I know when I play Elton John, he appreciates it. That one's for you, Lou. I appreciate you, brother. And this next artist, guys, I mean, you think of America, you think of the 80s. You can't help but think of this individual. But I got to be careful what I say, because at one time he was the Cougar, and now he dropped and at this point he had dropped the Cougar and was just considered Mr. John Mellencamp. And this will close us out with our discography, but this jam, absolutely phenomenal. And this is off his album Scarecrow, his 8th studio album by John Mellencamp.
Well, I was born in a small town and I live in a small town. Probably died in a small town. Oh, small communities. All my friends live in a small town. My parents live in the same small town. My job is a small town. Provides little opportunity.
Awesome stuff, right? There you go. There you have it. And that concludes episode 35,
Educated in a small town.
Discology.
Taught to fear Jesus in a small town.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Mellencamp.
In that small town, another boy
Some cool TV shows that were on.
but I've seen it
Magnum
all
PI.
in a small town.
Mr. Tom Selleck.
Had myself a ball and
Dynasty. JR. Falcon Crest.
brought to this small town.
Hill Street Blues. Never watched
Just
it.
like me.
And of course, Cagney and Lacey.
No, I cannot forget
If you guys haven't watched Spencer with Mr. Mark Wahlberg, do that. It's a lot like that Cagney and Lacey. It's fantastic. Cheers, Fame, Family Ties, Remington Steele, The A-Team, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, big out in the UK. Highway to Heaven, Murder, She Wrote, The Cosby Show, jeez. Growing Pains, Neighbors, how about that? And then, of course, The Twilight Zone, 1986. Some birthdays in 1986. How about Lady Gaga? She's 34 years old. How about the fastest man in the world? Mr. Usain Bolt. He's 33.
Got nothing against the big town. Still hayseed enough to say, look who's in the
Mike Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion
town. Oh, that's good enough
ever.
for me. Well, I was born in a small town.
Mike Tyson was 20 years old when he knocked out 33-year-old Trevor Burdick.
Small town. Oh, that's probably where they bury me.
Took him 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Some other big events of 1986. How about the FIFA World Cup? How about that? There you go. Fantastic. Argentina and West Germany. Argentina wins 3-2. Right? If you had your vuvuzelas, remember that? The vuvuzelas? Imagine vuvuzelas now. You couldn't have a vuvuzela. That's like a biological weapon. Remember they stopped people from using the vuvuzelas because they were spraying spit everywhere? I mean, seriously, think about that right now. That's like a corona, like a machine gun for corona. Hey, Lionel. Welcome. So there you have it. Argentina, 1986. Fantastic. And I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, and I'll mention it again. I'm a man. I can take it. You know, the Mets, they beat us. 7th game, World Series. Of course, the Buckner year. That's the year the ball went through his legs. But, you know, it is what it is. The Red Sox did have the lead, but they came back, and, of course, they blamed the curse of the Bambino for that. But it was what it was, and if you didn't know, we won. We did have some success because the Boston Celtics beat the Houston Rockets 114-97 in Game 6 to win the NBA championship. I mean, notably and considerably the best Celtics team ever created. You know what I mean? Honestly, you're talking about Larry Bird, McHale, like just some of the most amazing athletes to ever play the sport. I mean, of course, today's generation would say, I'm just going to drop you down there a little bit, Mr. Lionel Richie. LeBron James, those more famous. But you know what? We had the Michael Jordans. We had him. Michael Jordan was my guy. You know what I mean? It was everybody. If you didn't like Michael Jordan, you didn't like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I mean, he was just talking epic athletes. Fantastic. And another thing in 1986, guess who won the Super Bowl? I'm telling you guys, listen, I'm not making this up. Big year for Boston. And in this case, we got bamboozled by the Bears. You don't remember that? We got beat 46-10. I remember that year that the Chicago Bears, if you guys don't believe me, Google it. The Bears had a rap. They wrote a rap and they had a video and they played a video. And if you don't believe me, go check it out. Google it, YouTube. I'm sure it's on YouTube. The 1986 Chicago Bears music video. And it's terrible, but they did it and they beat us. So there you go. Chicago beat the Patriots then, and that was we had such a long run of just bad football. I mean, you say that. I mean, of course you're AFC champions when you go into the Super Bowl, and you're going in as a champion. But of course the big game, it's either all or nothing, right? If you're not first, you're last, and you blow it, right? It's just if you didn't know, hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs. That was the Montreal Canadiens defeating the Calgary Flames 4-1 in that series. Of course, the Habs, they were fantastic there for a very, very long time. I mentioned the Space Shuttle Challenger early in the podcast. Soviet Union launched the Mir space station as well. So it was a big year for space and getting that technology out there for a lot of countries. I mean, it was all about the space race. If you don't remember, after there was a lull after the moon missions, and then all of a sudden they picked up again, and now we're picking up again, which is great because it was lulled for a long time. At least now NASA and SpaceX and a bunch of companies are putting some great technologies together, and of course sending a lot more things to outer space, which is fantastic, right? Seriously, the Human Genome Project. I mentioned that in a previous podcast, and that was completed. It started in 1986 and it stopped and it ended in 2000. Kind of crazy stuff when you think about it. People. And that whole genome project, the idea behind that was to get a commonality between all people so that you could actually come up with a better ways of providing medical assistance to people. And here we are in the middle of one of the worst pandemics ever, and I wonder if any of that is even helpful to anybody. You know what I mean? Again, we find ourselves in this loop. And I just, guys, listen, I will be honest with you. It's been busy. It's been very busy. I've wanted to get behind the microphone for a couple of days now. It's been a struggle to do that. I just want to be in the right frame of mind. And I will be honest and truthful with you when I tell you that, work is a lot. There's a lot going on with work. Obviously with the pandemic and the preparedness and having staff, having people working, dealing with, the day-to-day, just cautiousness. I will tell you, and I don't know if you feel the same way that I do, but wearing a face mask all day, I'm exhausted. I don't know if it's, inhaling the carbon dioxide all day. I don't know if that's the problem, but I mean, it's literally, I find myself exhausted. I actually have to, I go into my office and I'll take the mask off and just breathe for a little while because it's just, I feel like I'm breathing my own exhaust air. That's the one thing nobody's talking about. They're making it mandatory. You got to wear a mask. Okay, I get it. You got to wear the mask, but in all fairness, at some point you need a break. I mean, it almost feels like you wear the mask, and then when you take it off, it's like you're taking that ice cold drink of water on a hot summer's day after you cut the lawn for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Or you went for a run around the block, 2 miles, 3 miles, 5 miles, and you're dying of thirst, and you get that ice cold glass of iced tea. That's what it feels like when you take the mask off, right? I mean, what a struggle. Like, it wasn't hard enough before, and now we got to take all these cautions and precautions. But guys, it's really, really important. It is really, really important. I think it's something that we all have to observe. I'll tell you right now, and I don't typically use the podcast for my soapbox, but in this case, I will be honest with you. I do not agree and feel that we need a little more time. If anybody's going to ask, if anybody's curious about my opinion, I'm going to tell you straight up that I think we need a little more time just behind the shield before we get out and fight again. This is I don't believe we've made any progress other than the testing, right? I mean, now you know, right? Now you can find out if you have it or if you didn't have it. And again, most people, if you're listening, I just ask you to look outside of yourself and realize that you may not have elderly people in your life. You may not have people that are older or have ailments in your life. But, I do, and I know a lot of people do. And I think it's that mindset that we need to maintain in realizing that, hey, you know what? It's not me. I can make somebody else sick. And I'm going to try to do and avoid that at all costs. Like, whatever I can do to try to minimize the chances of making the ones I love ill, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I would ask you all to do the same. It's easy to not know or not think about, the outside world, outside of yourself. I know that people right now are scratching at the walls and maybe being just ready to just get outside. Like, just literally just get outside, go do something, go be a part of something, be around other people, have a conversation. I can imagine, being trapped. And I say the word trapped because in true fashion, it really, really is, with kids, and even if you have sick kids, and just all of those factors that play into that. That's all huge. Trying to coordinate, right? I would imagine the school activities, the online meetings, and even a lot of you people, you're working from home, right? I mean, so now you're working from home and your kids are home. So someone's expecting you to do your job, right? Be on the phone, answer questions. But at the same time, you've got your kids because you got nobody to babysit your kids. I can imagine how difficult that is and how stressful that is. Even in your own home, you create an environment where the stress level is through the roof. And unfortunately, that's the space that we're in right now. And I hate to repeat myself, but I'm going to tell you guys, I feel that nothing has changed. And I don't believe we're ready to just start opening up again. Let's get a vaccine. I mean, if it takes another month, then it takes another month. I say we just hold off a second, get the vaccine, get the shot, and know that we're all going to be okay. Guys, there are people that had it and are getting it again. Right? Because wasn't that what they told us? Like, there was, I think, episode 26, maybe, we did a Facebook live cast, and I think that was one of the questions I asked. And someone looked it up and said that doctors were saying that if you caught it, then you had an immunity to it. But that's not the case. People are getting it again. Oh, for goodness sake, people's dogs are getting it, right? I mean, and listen, I not to make a joke about it, but we were talking about it at dinner, and it actually dawned on me, and I asked a question. So how do you figure out the dog has corona? Like, who? We were having a tough time getting tests for people. Like, does the vet? I mean, what vet has corona testing kits for their pets or for people's pets? I don't. I'm a little confused by that, but maybe they're making that a process so that we can find out if the pets can have it. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever the case is, I just found it funny and odd that someone would actually test a dog for corona like that. That would be something I wouldn't even have thought of that, right? So there you go. That's probably why I'm not in the medical world, because I probably wouldn't have thought of that, right? Right? That's funny. Guys, listen. We're getting close to walking out of here, and I know I haven't mentioned Gary, and guys, I've always mentioned in the past. Gary's our first and foremost. He's our sponsor, the very first sponsor of the Bobby Kudo Show, and I would love to just mention him over at White Coat Realtors. And I always tell you guys, if you're in the market for some real estate, if you're looking for some property, if you have a couple of questions about it, you just don't know and you want to ask, hit him up, shoot him a text message, 508-415-4177. Or send him an email at cabg gary2711@yahoo.com and say, hey, Gary, I heard about you on the Bobby Kudo show, and Bobby told me that you would help me out, right? I have a question. I'm looking at some property. I'm thinking maybe. You guys, on the news today, I heard it. They're doing closings online. You can actually log in, do a Zoom meeting, and the magistrate will complete the sale purchase right online. So there you go. You didn't have to leave the house. You could buy a new home from your home virtually, check it out, and then, right? So give Gary a call. Go check it out. I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially if you're in the market, right? Buying, selling. Gary has experience with commercial property as well, which is always a bonus. And you can, again, like if you just have a question, hit him up. So give him a text, shoot him an email, and I know he would appreciate it as much as I would appreciate it. And guys, I mentioned in the past, go check us out. Go check me out at thebobbykudoshow.com, thebobbykudoshow@gmail.com, and of course, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I love hearing from everybody. As I mentioned in the last podcast, I'm doing my best to get back to everybody. There's a lot of messages, a lot of great positive fan mail that I'm just so grateful for. And I thank everybody for reaching out. If you guys really listen, if you want to support the show, like I've mentioned before, anchor.fm/The Bobby Kudo Show /support. And make a donation. Or, listen, just go on Apple or any of your listening platforms and give me a thumbs up, right? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a like. Give me a comment. I appreciate it. And listen, the show doesn't grow without the word of mouth. It's you. You're the one that's spreading the word and telling people about this amazing podcast, right? Just this journey, right? I like to think it's a journey every time that we're going somewhere, right? Like I'm taking you back. And what better place than 1986? I came across the year. I just thought it was fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, guys, I'm music driven. So, I heard the Crowded House song. I thought of the Stand, and that's really the show kind of evolved from that, and that's what we heard today. That's what you heard today. It's just the evolution of that. And as I always mention, guys, when I sit down behind the microphone, this is start to finish. I don't cut the show into pieces. I don't record it in sections. I'm literally sitting here from the moment we start to the moment we finish, where we sign off, and it's one piece of audio. And I hope you can appreciate that as much as I do. It's really it's not as easy as you think putting these things together, but I just hope that you are appreciating them and that you're enjoying this content, because to me that's the win in all this for me. That's the reward. The reward is knowing that you guys are enjoying the content, and just the state of mind and the thought process, because guys, listen, we're all in this together. We are. I keep saying it. I hate to sound corny, but we are. Me, you, we're all connected in one way, shape, or form. We are all connected. So we just need to look out for each other. This is just a difficult time right now, but I honestly believe that we're going to get past this. I believe that this will pass, and we'll just be stronger. I know it. I know we'll be stronger. We'll be better. And you know what? Just like that glass, that ice cold glass of water that I mentioned earlier, it's going to be just that. Once this is gone and this is over, and we're able to do the things that we love and go back to our kids playing baseball and hockey and football and watching sports on TV. When we get back to that, it's going to be like taking that big first gulp of that ice cold water on that hot summer day, after you just ran a 5K. That's how refreshing it's going to be. And I believe it's there, and I believe we can all make it, but it's not going to be that easy. I choose to believe that we've got a difficult road ahead. Things are only going to get a little more difficult. If you guys have been reading or watching the news, the meat plants are having difficulty with the corona, and now the meat industry and that whole food stream is going to be impacted. So it's funny. Here we are, 2020. We got a shitload of gasoline, right? We got a shitload of gasoline. As a matter of fact, the Saudi Arabians, they just rented a bunch of fuel ships from the U.S. to store gasoline, because there's so much of it. They just made so much of it, and nobody's driving and nobody's consuming fuel. So here we go. We got a bunch of gas that we can't use, and we need food for people, and we don't have enough of it. So here we are. And again, when you think that your struggle is real, realize that there are people out there that are literally still living in the streets and struggling every day to make it. So just a little perspective there, and just a little gratitude for the life that you have. And the idea that, for the life that I have, the idea that I could sit here, have this show, and have this conversation with you, and share this amazing, beautiful music, and just some history, right? Some history. Like I told you guys, I'm not here to teach you. I'm here to remind you, and I hope that's getting to you, and I hope that this is what you thought it would be, right? So that's pretty much the show. I know I a little rant in the beginning there kind of led us into, I think, the heart and soul of the show, but it was important for me to kind of vent that out, and I hope that you all are safe and all feel the same way, because ultimately, like I mentioned before, we're in this together, and if we deviate from that, I don't think it's going to be good for anybody. So regardless of whose fault it is, that's at this point, it's all irrelevant. I think the important thing for us to do right now is to look out for one another and take care of each other. Look out for our elderlies, look out for our neighbors, that these are the people that really need the support and really need the help right now. So hats off to them, hats off to you, all our first responders, and everybody there working. If you're working, man, it's not easy. And I appreciate it, and I know that we all appreciate it. You know what I mean? The fact that we still have a lot of the things, and other than toilet paper. So if you're in the toilet paper chain, then maybe you're not doing. Maybe you need to step it up a minute, right? Everywhere else, everybody's doing good. Even the potato chip aisle, you go in there, there's plenty of potato chips for everybody, right? There isn't a lack of potato chips, just no toilet paper, right? There you go. You can eat the food, you just can't wipe your ass. That's where we're at. So there you go, guys. So with that said, I'm gonna walk us out of here. Again, I always appreciate it. I just want to say thank you for lending me your ear. I love you all equally, and I always look forward to the next one. So I will see you soon, and we will speak on episode 36. So just stand by, and in all hopes that you are safe and this finds you well, and take care of you, your family, your neighbors, and always remember that all roads lead here.